Hi friends, this is Mara again with another Childhood Atlas video. Today, we're going to India, and I want to start in a living room. It's a Tuesday night, the TV is on, the smell of cardamom and ghee is in the air. A grandmother is feeding a 5-year-old by hand. Small balls of rice and dal placed gently into the child's mouth between sentences of a story. In the next room, an aunt is helping the older cousin with math homework. The father is laughing with the grandfather. The mother is on the phone. There are 7 adults in this house, and not a single one of them lives somewhere else. This is one home, one small slice of India, and it tells you almost everything about how children are raised here. Because in India, a child is never raised by 2 people. A child is raised by 20. To understand how children grow up in India, you need to understand a single word. Sanskara. It is one of the most important concepts in Indian life, and it has no clean translation in English. Sanskara means values, imprint, the slow shaping of who a child becomes, through rituals, through stories, through the example of every adult around them. Sanskara is what gets passed down, quietly, constantly, across generations. India is home to 1.4 billion people, and it has more children than any other nation on earth. Over 400 million people under the age of 18. Those children are growing up inside one of the most diverse countries that has ever existed. 22 official languages, 6 major religions, a new festival nearly every month of the year. But underneath all of that diversity is something remarkably consistent: the way India loves its children. Many Indian children still grow up in what's called a joint family, multiple generations under one roof. Grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all sharing meals, raising each other's kids, settling each other's arguments. In Hindi, the word for family is parivar. And parivar doesn't mean what family means in much of the world. It means the whole web, the whole village under one address. And even when modern Indian families live in separate apartments, they live together in spirit. The grandparents call every day. The cousins visit every weekend. The web is just one phone call away. A baby's life in India begins with ceremony. Around 11 days after birth comes Namkaran, the naming ceremony. The family gathers. A priest may be invited. The baby's name is chosen carefully, sometimes from religious texts, sometimes based on the position of the stars at birth, often with deep family meaning. In India, your name is not casual. Your name is your first inheritance. For the first several years of life, an Indian baby almost never sleeps alone. Co-sleeping is universal, with parents, with grandparents, with whoever has space. And feeding is rarely solitary either. You will see Indian mothers and grandmothers feeding their children by hand long past the age most Western children eat unsupervised. The hand offering the food is a hand offering presence, a hand offering love. A child in India is not trained toward independence. A child in India is held for as long as it takes. Now, the most important figure in many Indian children's lives is not their mother. It is their dadi or nani, their paternal or maternal grandmother. She is the keeper of the family's stories, the teller of myths at bedtime, the person who knows which spices cure which illnesses, the one who feeds the child when no one else has time. Indian children remember their grandmothers, the way other children remember their first homes. Around age 1 to 3, many Hindu children go through Moondan, the first ceremonial haircut. The child's birth hair is shaved off entirely, often at a temple, as an offering. It marks a transition, a first letting go. The first time the family says, this child is no longer just an infant. They are becoming someone. And then comes one of the most beautiful rituals in the world, Vidyarambham, the beginning of learning. Around age 3, in many Hindu families, the child is sat on an elder's lap. A plate of rice is placed before them, and the elder guides their tiny finger to write their first letter, not in a book, but in the rice. It says, knowledge is sacred. Learning is sacred. and the very first one to teach you is family. Formal schooling in India begins around age 5 or 6, and what happens next is the most intense academic culture I have covered in this series so far. Indian children are funneled from an early age toward 2 enormous national exams, the JEE for engineering, the NEET for medicine. Each year, more than 2 million teenagers compete for fewer than 200,000 seats. There's a city called Kota. It exists almost entirely for one purpose: to prepare teenagers for these exams. Tens of thousands of children, as young as 14, move there alone. They live in hostels. They study 14 hours a day. They are called Kota factory kids. The pressure is immense. The hopes are immense. And the cost, sometimes, is heartbreaking. Now, if you watched our South Korea episode, this might sound familiar. Korean and Indian children both grow up under crushing academic pressure. Both spend their teenage years preparing for one defining exam. Both come from cultures that link education to family destiny. But there is one key difference. In Korea, the child carries the weight of their own future. In India, the child carries the weight of the entire family. The aunts who pooled money for the coaching fees, the grandparents whose dreams skipped a generation, the Korean child studies to win, the Indian child studies to repay. There's a phrase every Indian child knows. Sharma ji ka beta, Mr. Sharma's son. It is what your parents say when they want to compare you to a child who is doing better. Sharma ji ka beta scored higher. Sharma ji ka beta got into IIT. Sharma ji ka beta, Sharma ji ka beta. For better and for worse, comparison is woven into Indian childhood. It pushes children to achieve. It also shapes how they see themselves. And every Indian adult, even 30 years later, still has a Sharma ji ka beta in their head. But for everything India asks of its children, it gives something back, every single day. When a child enters a room with elders, there's a gesture so old that no one remembers when it began. The child bends, they touch the feet of the elder, and the elder places a hand on the child's bowed head. This is prunam. And what flows back through that hand, we'll come to in a moment. Just remember the gesture. And then there are the festivals. Holi, Diwali, Eid, Raksha Bandhan, Christmas, Pongal, Onam. The Indian calendar is a child's calendar. New clothes, sweets cooked by grandmothers, cousins who travel across the country to visit, houses lit up with diyas, small oil lamps, a whole nation pausing multiple times a year to wrap its children in color and noise and joy. This is how culture gets remembered. Not in textbooks, in a child's hands, sticky with sweets, watching the sky fill with light. Here's something most Indian children take for granted, but the world finds astonishing. Most Indian children grow up speaking 3 languages by age 6, their mother tongue at home, Hindi or English at school, and a regional language with their grandparents. By the time they're teenagers, they often write in one alphabet, sing in another, and dream in a third. In India, language is not a subject. Language is the air. And that diversity goes deeper than language. A Hindu child grows up with Diwali, a Muslim child with Eid, a Sikh child at the Gurdwara, a Christian child with Christmas, a Jain child with strict vegetarianism, a Parsi child with fire temples. In a country this diverse, children grow up knowing that their best friend's family prays differently from their own, and that this is normal, sacred even. The texture of Indian childhood is woven from many threads, and the children somehow learn to honor all of them. Now, I have to be honest with you, India is also a country of staggering inequality. Millions of children grow up in poverty. Girls still face discrimination in many parts of the country. Child labor, though declining, affects far too many young Indians. Caste, the country's deepest wound, still shapes opportunity in ways that are slow to change. The love in Indian families is real. The challenges in Indian society are also real. and the gap between them is something every Indian parent navigates every single day. Finland says, a child needs freedom. South Korea says, a child needs preparation. Brazil says, a child needs belonging. India says, a child needs lineage. 4 countries, 4 completely different answers to the same question, and millions of children have grown up whole and loved in all 4. So what's the thread running through all of this? I think it's this. India has built a culture that refuses to treat the child as a project. A child is not a product to optimize. A child is a continuation. They carry the songs their great-grandmother sang, the words their grandfather taught, the rituals that have been performed in this family for centuries. That is what sanskara means. The child is not raised. The child is inherited. And there is one final word I want to leave you with. Ashirvad. It means blessing, but it means more than that. When an Indian child touches an elder's feet, what flows back through the elder's hand into the top of the child's head is Ashirvad. Everything that elder has lived through, everything they survived, everything they learned, all of it offered to the child in a single quiet gesture. Ashirvad. The greatest gift in Indian culture is not money, not gifts, not opportunities. It is what an elder gives a child when the child bows. Here's something to sit with. Is there an elder in your life, alive or gone, whose blessing you still carry? If this episode moved you, if you learned something, or if there is something about your childhood that you see differently, that's exactly what this series is for. Subscribe so you don't miss our next stop. And if you haven't seen Finland, Korea, Brazil, Nigeria, or Japan yet, they are the perfect companions to this one. Many countries, many ways to love a child. I'm Mara. See you next time. Bye, friends.